Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Calvin tipped me off to a story out of the Detroit News, a paper in Detroit that I did not deliver as a young man. Headline, Gambler beats odds, scores high court win in $3.1 million case against BetMGM. And Max Reinhart wrote this. Detroit's got some casinos downtown, and of course we also have a lot of online type gambling too, ever since that's become a thing. So a woman tried her luck after losing twice in court and scored a straight flush when she secured a unanimous decision from the Michigan Supreme Court in a multi-million-dollar gambling case. She's suing gaming giant BetMGM, which she said owes her more than $3 million in online winnings from a gambling streak she had 4 years ago. So she alleged that she won more than $3.2 million playing BetMGM's Luck of the Roulette game. Over a 6-day period in 2021, BetMGM has refused to remit the bulk of the winnings, according to court records, claiming the game malfunctioned and erroneously credited the winnings to her account. The game malfunctioned. So her attorney says, well, they say it malfunctioned, but they really don't have much evidence as to what actually happened. A BetMGM spokesperson said the company does not comment on pending litigation and could not answer any questions. Now, the woman has alleged that after she won millions playing Luck of the Roulette, she withdrew $100,000 of her winnings in person at MGM Grand Casino in Detroit. BetMGM then suspended her account, leaving her unable to access the remaining $3.1 million balance. According to their website, the Luck of the Roulette is an Irish-themed game with a 95.39% return-to-player rate with a 10-cent minimum bet and a $25 maximum bet. Players can win up to 100 times their bet on each play. According to the opinion from the Michigan Supreme Court, which is 26 pages long, and I read it this morning, and I decided instead to go with the article here because the opinion is quite lengthy. And you might say, but Steve, it's 26 pages. No, that's not what makes it lengthy. The digressions they go into would be very, very difficult for me to expect anyone to listen and sit through. So again, the woman made her first wager on the game in March of 2021, and she bet $4.50, and she lost. But then, as the court says, she went on a heater of epic magnitude. She went on a heater. After she racked up millions of dollars on her account, the BetMGM casino operation team identified what it called an improbable balance associated with her account, and they suspended it pending an internal investigation, and they say the investigation revealed a malfunction, according to court documents, a malfunction. So she filed a complaint in Wayne County Circuit Court, which is the circuit court that Detroit is home of, alleging claims of fraud, conversion, and breach of contract. BetMGM has argued that the circuit court lacks jurisdiction and that disputes involving patrons can only be resolved by the Michigan Gaming Control Board. Now, the attorney for the casino says the rules and her contract with us make abundantly clear that a malfunction will void all winnings, okay? And therefore, her remedy is to go before the Gaming Control Board to determine whether, in fact, there was a malfunction. And in a 2-1 ruling, a 3-judge appeals court agreed with that back in 2022 and granted a motion to dismiss the case. But meanwhile, the woman filed a dispute with the Gaming Control Board, and they just said, we're not going to pursue this. And as the Supreme Court notes in their opinion, that if the Gaming Control Board just chooses not to pursue something and you're not allowed to sue them, you've got no remedy. You've got no venue where your case can be heard. And so the Supreme Court of the state of Michigan went through the rules of the Gaming Control Board and the legislation that created it and pointed out that it says the Gaming Control Board may resolve these issues. They don't have to. And so it means that if the casino is correct here, that the Gaming Control Board can sit back, do nothing, and you've got nowhere to go. So the Michigan Court of Appeals affirmed the circuit court decision, a 2-1 opinion, issued 2023, but there was a dissent. And a judge wrote that by denying plaintiff a forum by which to pursue her claim of unpaid winnings, the majority's decision lends a new meaning to the old gambling adage that the house always wins. So in an application to the Michigan Supreme Court, The woman's attorneys argued that the appeals court and the Gaming Control Board's decisions left her not only without her winnings, but without a way to legally challenge BetMGM. She has no remedy. The casinos in Michigan, both online and in person, can commit fraud against a patron with impunity. This could not possibly have been intended by the Internet Gaming Act. It could not possibly be the law in Michigan. So the case will now go back to Wayne County Circuit Court for a hearing after the woman won in a unanimous decision. Unanimous. 7-0. Unanimous decision, Michigan Supreme Court. And those are fairly uncommon. Fairly. The legislature enacted the Internet Gaming Act to legalize online gambling, the court wrote. We would be remiss not to acknowledge that this shift in public policy may give rise to new rights under the law. Because our existing common law rules may be adapted to current needs in light of changing times and circumstances, the common law is particularly well suited to address ongoing developments arising from the act. So this is the interesting part. It's 2025. There was a law passed, which is the Internet Gaming Act, and it's got all kinds of rules and regulations about online gaming, okay? And when something goes wrong and this woman's forced to sue the people she's gambling with, the court's pointing out that, well, that Gaming Act is not her exclusive remedy. And in fact, she still has all of her common law claims, things like breach of contract and conversion. And so it's going to go back to court where she'll presumably get her day in court, meaning that she'll have a trial if it goes that far. It could still settle. But if she goes to court and has a trial, she'll get to make her case to a jury, and a jury can then decide whether or not the casino is right in saying, oh, there was a malfunction, we don't owe her any money. Or if they can say, the jury could say, no, there was no malfunction, pay her. And so the strange part about this is that think back to the old days with the slot machines, the one-armed bandits, right? That's a machine with cogs in it and gears and levers, okay? And you pull the lever and the wheels spin and blah, blah, blah. And you can understand how a machine like that could malfunction. Something breaks inside of it and something happens to where one wheel comes off completely, another wheel catches on fire and it starts spitting out money. That would be a malfunction. And I think most people would agree that, if you pulled the arm on the machine and it just split open and money fell out of it, that's a malfunction too, right? But we're talking about you've got an app on your phone and you're playing a game on your phone. It goes, you've won. Oh, that was a malfunction. What was the malfunction? That she won? Because that's what most people think when they see these stories. And a lot of people will always chime in, and I agree with this. We hear about stories where people won big and they go, oh, it's a malfunction. But you don't often hear them walking up to somebody and going, the machine that just told you lost? You actually won. Here, have some money. So all of the mistakes somehow get slanted in their favor. I mean, that's the way it looks to me. But the interesting thing is that at the Supreme Court, her attorney actually said, they keep saying it's a malfunction, but they haven't shown us what it was or identified what it was. They're not saying she cheated. They're saying it was a malfunction. Okay, what is that? What was it? Not identified. So they had several years of litigation, and they've gone through several courts, and in front of the highest court in the state of Michigan, when someone's pointing at them going, they still haven't identified the malfunction. You think somebody would stand up and go, okay, let me explain to you what the malfunction is. That seems to be an important issue. And it doesn't appear to have been raised in any particular specificity. First time this morning I've used that word. So gambler beats odds and scores a high court win in a $3.1 million case against BetMGM. Although it does say she got her $100,000 that she first took out, just not the rest of it. So Max Reinhart wrote that for the Detroit News, debtnews.com. Kelvin sent it. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Say hello to my little friend.